Okay, so we're now recording. So welcome everybody. Today we are going to be looking at formatting in Excel. So we're going to be looking at formatting individual cells. We'll look at how you format sort of columns, how you format using tables. So you can do things like banded rows really quickly. And we'll look at how you can format your worksheets and things like that. We'll just generally, what we're not going to touch on today is conditional formatting, because that's a whole topic in and of itself. If you're interested, we can certainly do a webinar on that. As you can see, we've got this one planned. We've got another one at mid-March for match and index. But other than that, we haven't got any plans. So if there's anything you'd like to see, please get in touch, it.training@adelaide.edu.au. Without further ado, let's get started. So I'm just going to turn off my video. There we go. And then let's just come out of PowerPoint and let's get stuck into Excel. All right. Those of you who've been to my webinars will recognize this, this spreadsheet. I use it a lot. It's because it's got lots and lots of data in it, so it's really handy to use. Okay, so let's talk about how we go around looking at individual cells. So there's lots of ways that we can do our cells. So you'll see here we've got styles. Now most of you will be familiar with styles, hopefully, from Word, but we also have styles in Excel. So hopefully you can see those here. So I can say, oh, this is bad, or this is good, or this is neutral, and so on. So these are ones that have already been sort of set up. This is, oh, you must check that one, this is explanatory, this is input, and so on. If I click on this little drop down, you'll see here that there are all sorts of things. Yeah, and I can make things headings, and I can add accents to them and things like that. I can create my own styles as well. So I can go in, I can give it a style, and I can go in and I can then do full formatting to it. Now, this format cells, we'll be spending a lot of time in here today, so I'll come back to that. So those are the inbuilt styles that you can use if you would like to. Okay, we've also got this format as a table. So this is where I was saying earlier that putting things in as a table or changing them into a table really helps you then to do things like automatic banded rows, which can be useful particularly if you're going to be printing. Don't print, but anyway, if you were, it can be helpful. So with big spreadsheets, it can be great to do that banded row. It just makes it easier to look at, a bit easier on the eye. Okay. So that's those kind of, as I say, these sorts of styles that you can use, and other things that you can do. So if we're coming in, if we're just looking at general formatting, we can come in and we can have a look at this, what kind of number formats and so on. Okay. So if I just click on this, let's just have a quick look through this format cell dialog box. As I say, we'll spend a lot of time in here. The number format, I will talk about in more detail because there's quite a lot of stuff going on in here. This is really important, is what kind of number format you have on your cells. It's for how you sort of display different types of data. But we also have in here things like your alignment, and you know, whether you want to wrap your text. So wrap text means that if you've got lots of information in a particular cell, you know, does it just carry on typing, or does it actually wrap within the shape of the text? So does it create multiple lines of text, or is it just one single line? We've got then shrink to fit. So if you go shrink to fit, that is going to make your text smaller to fit into the size of your cell. And then we've also got merge cells. Never, ever merge cells. Okay, don't ever do it. You know, if you merge cells, then I'm going to take Excel away from you because you don't deserve it. It's merging cells is a lot of people do for formatting reasons, but it actually really, it stops your spreadsheet working like a spreadsheet. Excel gets very confused and it won't allow you to do any calculations if there are merged cells. It doesn't let you do pivot tables. It doesn't let you create charts. It doesn't like them, and so please don't merge cells. Okay, we've got then your text direction. So is it just contextual, or do you want to do it in particular? We've got things like orientation, so you can put your text at angles, funny angles and things. Oh, let's get back to, oh, -1, no. Let's go back to 0. There we go. Oh no, what am I doing? Oh no, oh dear, there we go. Oh. We've got things here like indenting and so on. Now, I said a moment ago that don't ever merge your cells, but I know that sometimes people like to have titles. So let me just go into, let's just right click here and let's just insert a row above. So someone might want to say this is course booking data. And so a few things are going on here. You'll notice how that is, if I just click away, so you'll notice how that is now going across that A. So a lot of people, when you write a lot, they get confused about where the text is actually stored. So if this goes up, you see at the moment it goes over into B, but it's not like, and if I made this thinner like that, lots of people, if they wanted to change the word data, would then come and click in B. But you'll notice if you look in your formula bar here, there's actually nothing in cell B because it's actually in cell A. It just sort of puts it over the top because I haven't got anything in cell B. As soon as I put something in cell B, right, then it doesn't do that anymore. Okay. All right. And that's where that things like if I had that shrink text, it would then shrink the text. If I had wrap text, so if I go wrap text, it wraps it. And so on. So if I shrink it, it would make the text, make the font smaller. But for now, let's go in. We had those heading styles, didn't we? So let's go with heading 1. And again, but you might say, well, I want this to spread. I want to merge cells. So a lot of people go, let's say I wanted to put this across here because this is about, you know, these columns A to F. A lot of people will go, we'll just merge and center. Okay, don't do that. Just don't. No, like I say, I'll come and take Excel away from you. So I'm just going to Control Z that. What you can do instead is if I go into here, I'm into my alignment. By the way, yeah, sorry, just a thing to show you. If we click on that button, it opens up Format Cells and Font. If I click on this button, even though this is an alignment, it opens up Format Cells. It's just on the Alignment tab. If I click on this button, and so on. So all of these are actually opening up this Format Cell. The keyboard shortcut for which is Control 1. Anyway, where was I? Alignment. So instead of merging and centering, what you can do is you can say center across selection. So you'll see how I've got A to F selected. If I go center across selection and then say OK, that actually centers that across that selection. So it centers across the cells, but I haven't merged the cells. So these are still individual cells. Yeah? Hope that makes sense. Now, of course, that does make it a bit confusing because if I come in here to edit that text, I can't edit it. So yeah, you're going to find that in that A1. Okay. So that's some stuff around that sort of alignment. As I say, never merge. Okay. All right. So other things that we can do here, let's go and have a look at font. So obviously font, you've got your usual kind of things here. You can select the font you want. The default font, by the way, comes from the theme. So the theme controls things like the colors and the fonts and any sort of stylistic things you have, such as shadows on pictures and stuff like that. So from here, I've got the ability to change the font just here. Do I want to make it regular? Is it italic? Is it bold? Is it bold and italic? I've got the size just here that I can change. I've got, is it underlined? So you've got, you know, single accounting and double accounting. I don't even know what that means. Oh, that looks like that. And double looks like that. Oh, there you go. Who even knew that was a thing? All right. We've got here the colors. So again, these theme colors, that's all coming from the theme. So that at the moment is picking up on that theme color there. If I change the theme, it would probably change that color there. I've got there that this is actually the normal font. Yeah, so put it into normal. Here I've got the things I can do strike through. I can do superscript, which means up above, or subscript, which means sort of making it smaller. Let's turn that off. Okay, so that's all of the font stuff as well. So you've got all of your options there. A lot of these, of course, are repeated up from here. You know, I can change all this stuff up here too. But yeah, and here as well, I can do other things like increasing the font size and decreasing and stuff like that. And I've got things like my underline and so on. And I've got the ability here to add borders to the paragraph. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's have a look at other things that I can do with my formatting. So if I come into here, I can do things like I can do fill. Okay, so I've got no fill there, but I can do some different fills based on my themes, or if I click on more colors, you know, I can pick a particular color from here, or I can go in for custom, and that would allow me to create either just by clicking on this, or I can do an RGB or HSL as well. Okay, so that's fairly standard across Microsoft Office. So the little bucket there is for fill colors, and then the little A is for your font colors. And again, you get those sort of similar types of things. Okay. All right. So you can do all of that too. If I wanted to do a whole column, I can just click on the A, click on B, click on C, and so on. Now, a lot of people want to do sort of banded rows. So banded rows means like every other row. So I could like hit, whoops, wrong button. I could click on that, and I could go control and click on this one, whoops, and then I could control and click on this one, and control and click on this one, and so on. I could go through doing that, but I've got like 10,000 rows of data or something here. That would take me quite a long time. So instead, what I can do is I can turn it into, I can format it as a table. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to sort of select the whole thing. I'm going to format as a table, and here we're going to do something along these sorts of lines, and say, yep. Oops, I'll tell you what I want to do there is we'll do this one, and I just want to change that from 1 to 2. Oops. So why I'm doing that is I am just going to change that to 2. What I want to do is exclude this top row, because I've put that course booking data thing there, which I shouldn't have done. But anyway, I'm just going to say OK like that. Oh, no responsibility, do not show. Okay, yeah, it's just having a while. It's going to take a while because it's a lot of data. Sorry, that's what that. You see, always read error messages, people. Don't just ignore them. So I was just saying there that I wouldn't really necessarily need to put this course booking data there. So those of you who attended the one on printing know that you can add headers and footers. So if this was like a report you wanted to do and you want to say this is course booking data, then you would put that. You could put that onto into the header. What the other thing that you can do is you'll notice down here. Oh, I might have just crashed Excel. Whoops. We'll give it a while and we'll see if we can rescue it. You'll notice down here at the bottom, this tab is already called bookings, so I could change that to course booking data if I wanted to. This desire we have to add titles for everything isn't necessarily a good thing. Okay, excuse me. I'm just a little thirsty. I'm just going to mute myself while I take a sip of water. Okay, looks like I broke Excel. Too much data to try and turn this into a table. So let's just close out of that. Let's see if we can open up. Let's open it read only. Excellent. Cool. So I'm going to play with this one. So let's instead go over to here. So rather than selecting the whole sheet this time, which is probably what I did wrong last time, I'm just going to select the actual data. Now some of you might have wondered what I did there. So what I did was I held down Control and Shift, and I went across to select all of my data in that direction, and then I hit my down arrow, and that selects all my data down the way. So that just sort of selects everything that I've got, and there I can then go format as a table and do that. Okay, my table has headers. Yes, it does. There we go. Hey, phew, that worked. So there you go. That's just made that. That's done that banding, and that's because I've got banded rows ticked here. So now we get into table tools. If I click away from that, I will lose that. That's a contextual menu because this is a table. I can click in it. And here I've got things like, do I want the filter buttons? Have I got a header row? Have I got a total row? Do I want banded rows? So if I turn the banded rows off, you know, they disappear. Okay, have I got a first column, last column? So, you know, if you've got a first column, it tends to bold that. Yep. I can, instead of having banded rows, I could have banded columns if I wanted to. So, you know, this is quite good. If I have a last column, it's going to make that all bold as well. And then I've got my style, so I can change my styles and what have you too. So lots of stuff that I can do from here. Lots of things. Make it all green. We can make it just the banded ones. We can make it unbanded and so on. So yeah, whatever you want. I like the green. It's pretty. Cool. So that is turning that into a table. Sort of formatting it as a table. So that's a really great way to do your banded rows. Okay, what shall we talk about next? Let's go back to my home. All right, it's probably time to talk about this big bit. Okay. Oh, before I do that, I will just come into, so, you know, I said with the bookings, you know, and with my person data, I've named these tabs. So naming the tabs, you just right click on them and you can then just sort of rename, and that'll allow you to put stuff in there. What you can also do is add colors to these. So I've got tab color here. So again, I can pick from my themes, and then that's going to change those tab colors for you. Okay. And if I was to come into, where's themes in Excel? Probably page layout. Hey. And I can change the theme here and say, no, let's change this all to facet. And that changes the color scheme. And it also changes the fonts and so on. There you go. So, all right. Home. Okay, so let's get on to talking about this big stuff around the number formatting. Okay. Because these are the tabs. Oh yeah, okay, let's come back to this. All right, so this number formatting, this is really sort of tells you what, you know, how Excel is going to display your data. So what kind of thing is it? Just change it by the, no, sorry, I'll come back to that. So we've got here, this is just general. So everything you put in is sort of generally put as general, and then we can put things as number as well. Let me just change what I'm looking at. Let's just type something in here. Okay, so that's now as general. I can change that and say, no, make it a number. So if I make it a number, it automatically puts those two decimal points, puts a decimal place in and puts me two decimal places. I can say, no, I don't want those, or I can say, actually, I want more. Now, something to be aware of with this, let's say I put in here 1.67845, okay, and then I say decrease the decimals. You see how it's actually changing the number? The thing is, it isn't. So this is just a mask. This is just displaying, I've just told it, just display for me one decimal place. That does not mean it's actually changed the number. So you'll see up here, the number is still stored as 1.67845, okay? But it's being displayed as 1.7. So if I have a calculation, so let's say I say equals this, I should have thought this through a little bit more, but never mind, equals this times 3, okay? So that's 5.0035. So if I now display that as a, okay, so it's saying, what I've just done there is I've got 1.7 times 3 equals 5, right? That ain't true, but it's because I have got here, it's actually, what I've done is I've multiplied 1.67845 by 3, and that has given me that answer, whereas if I go, as I say, if I increase, it is actually, you know, that's your real answer. Does that, I'm hoping that makes sense. So just because we've got, this is just what it's showing you. This is what we call a mask. So this is just what it's showing you. I've just asked it. That doesn't mean it has changed the way it's storing that number. So it is still storing that number with the number of decimal places I gave it, but it's only displaying it using 1 because that's what I've told it to do. Okay. All right. Now what I can also do with these numbers, I can say actually this is a percentage. Yep. So it's 168%. And I can go back to being just a number. Yep. I can come in here and I can make it into, no, this is actually money. So I can have that in money, and we can have, I've got Australian, I've got US, United Kingdom, I've got Euro, I've got Chinese, I've got more accounting formats, Swiss, I don't know why Swiss should be in there, but you can come in here and you can say, there's all sorts of things that you can do. So there's lots and lots of stuff you can add in there. Whee! All sorts of stuff. Okay, that you can display that as. Okay, if I go back to being, let's just go back to being number. Okay, so you can see from here, I've got this drop down which gives me some basic ones. This gives me the number, the currency, accounting, short date, long date, time, percentage, fraction, scientific, and text. But I do also, so that's a really great place to start. I have more control when I come into here. Okay, so this is where I get more control if I come in here, because now you can see with the number, I can set my decimal places here. I can say whether I want to use a separator. So every 1,000, it gets a little comma in there. So don't type in that comma, because if you type in that comma, it turns it into text, not a number. So you can use a separator here. And what do I want negative to look like? I want negative to look, it's got a minus in front of it, or I want it just to appear in red, or I want it to be red and a minus. I can choose those kind of things from here as well. And it's true when we go into currency too, again, I've got what sort of symbol do I want, how many decimal places do I want to display to, and so on. So, you can go to none or back to 2 and so on. From when I've got into accounting, again, I've got these different ones here. And I've got dates. Let's talk about dates, shall we? All right. So let's say I've put in it now. I've got the number 1 in here. I've got that for a specific reason. I'm going to leave that there for now. And I'm just going to do control semicolon. Control semicolon just inserts today's date. So it's a little keyboard shortcut for you. And control colon, whoops. Control semicolon, enter. There we go. So control semicolon adds in the today's date. Control colon adds in the current time. Okay. So you'll see here that this is being displayed as a date, and that's my default date is to display in that way. I can change the way that it displays that date. So I can come in here and I've got here short date, or I can choose long date. Up. Or if I want to, I can launch that and I can go into all sorts of different date displays. So how do I want to display this? Oops. So you'll see here I've got a selection of ones that I can choose. So I can say I want it to appear like that. I can make it appear more like that. I can do, that kind of thing, anything that I want. What I can also do is I can actually customize my date settings as well. Now, the reason these two have got a star by them is because they are my defaults. So that is my default date for my short date. That's my default date for my long date. If I come into custom, I can actually choose exactly how I want that displayed. Okay. All right, so, and that's what all of these things here are. So let's have a look and see if we can figure out what's going on. So this one that says DMM and it's got 4 Ys. This one here has got a D and it's got 3 Ms and 2 Ys. So what do we think the difference is? Okay, so see here, this is saying the date and then it's got MM, so it's going 0, 2, and it's got 4 Ys. So the 4 Ys make it display the full year. If I change it to this one, you'll see the 3 M's makes it use 3 letters for the date, for the month, and then you've just got the two final bits for the year. Let's see if we've got some others we can look at here, because there are other ways that we can display our dates. Nope, okay, but we can actually type in our own as well. So let's come in here. What happens if we say we want to display this as day/month/year? Okay. Okay. Whoops. So I can do, whoops. And you'll see it will come in here above. So I can go just month, and that just does the single one. Yep. Yep. If I go month, that does Feb. If I add another M, it goes February. Okay. If I can add another M, it just adds the single a single letter. Which, you know, seeing as a lot of the months start with the same letter, that might or might not be helpful. It depends what you're doing. So there's different, I can control exactly, and if you Google it, you'll find like a big long list of how to do this. Okay, all right, I'm just going to cancel out there. One of the things I want to show you though is you'll see here that this is, that's that date there. This here is a number. Now what happens if I say, I don't want to display this as a number, I want to display this as a short date. So it's now showing me that that's the 1st of January 1900. So, fundamental thing about dates in Excel. Dates in Excel are actually numbers. And what Excel does is it starts on the 1st of January 1900 and it counts upwards. Okay, so that's why number 1 is displaying, when I display it as a date, it's displaying as 1/01/1900. So this date, today's date, how many days has it been since the 1st of January 1900? Well, I can tell you because I can display that as a number. So that's the actual number that Excel is storing. It's 43,158. Okay. And if I display that as a date, it's the 27th of the 2nd, 2018. So Excel is actually storing your number as a date and it counts up from the 1st of January 1900. Okay. All right. So let's just get back into here. Hopefully that makes sense to you. You've also got here time. So how do you want to display time? Percentages, you get to choose, you know, what's your decimal places you want in there. Doing fractions, you know, how do you want to display it? Is it up to 1 digit or up to 2 and so on? So you can do it as the closest half, the closest quarter and so on. So there's all sorts of things you can do in here. You got scientific ones as well. So if you want to put in your scientific stuff, you can do. You got your normal text. You'll find a lot of the university systems will export numbers as text, and that can be quite frustrating because you cannot do calculations with numbers that are stored as text. Normally Excel can recognize them, and if it recognizes them, you can fix the formula. So there's normally a little green triangle you can click on, and that will allow you to convert it. If you don't get that, you can multiply it by 1. So if you multiply your number that's stored as text by 1, it converts it to a number as well. Okay. And then we've got special kind of things, and we've got, as I say, those custom ones. So you can do all sorts of things you want with here. So it's really important to sort of understand what these categories are and how you're displaying your those numbers. But note, it does call them numbers. Okay, as I say, even a date is actually a number. All right, so we've looked at alignment, we've looked at font, we've looked at borders. Oh no, sorry, we haven't. So borders. So you've got some presets here, you know, say I want an outline and the color, I can either go automatic or I can say I want this to be red, and then just sort of, you need to do it a couple of times to go, oh yeah, there it is. Or I can change that to none. I can say I want it to be like big and I want it to be thick, and I can say I want it to go through, so I can do different things like that. I can absolutely choose, and then if I say okay, that just does that to that. Okay. So borders can be quite handy for doing things. You've got fill, so we've kind of already looked at fill. One thing that we did that you can't get from the other spaces is these fill effects. So I don't really want to show you this because it's pretty gross, right? Let's do, hey, let's go like that. Let's go okay. Yep, it's getting funkier. It's getting funkier. Yeah, and then you've got protection. I'm not going to talk about protection today, but it's essentially how you can lock down particular cells, or you can hide particular cells. It just stops people from coming in and changing the content of that. It can be quite useful if you've got lots of formulas and you're showing with other people, you just want to fill in a few bits and bobs. There's more information about that in our in the Excel online course. Feel free to enroll in that. And she pauses for breath. Okay, so we have looked at all sorts of things. We've run through some stuff. We've had a look at these styles, so how you can say, oh, let's get that back to being normal, shall we? And let's remember that's not a general, let's just make that a date, lovely. Or we can say it's explanatory or input. So we've got all these different styles here. So we had a look at that. We had a look at how to format table, which is the easiest way to get your banded rows in there. We went through all of these little boxes here as well. So you've got your font settings, and essentially any of these you click, or Control-1 will open up this, which is where all the good stuff is. I've told you before, that's where they hide the good stuff, is where you see these little things here. So you've got your basics you can access through your toolbar, and obviously keyboard shortcuts and that sort of thing, but then the really detailed stuff is in here. One thing in particular I was talking about was the alignment. You are allowed to use center across selection. What you are not allowed to do is merge and center. We talked about wrapping text and all sorts of things like that as well. Okay, and we spent quite a long time talking about these number formats and what you're actually doing when you're changing your number formats. So that kind of brings me to the end. I will let you guys ask any questions. So I haven't had any questions so far, so now's your opportunity if you'd like to type a question. Let's go back to here. Okay, I'm just going to launch a poll. Here is my evaluation. Okay. All right, so it'd be really handy to find out what you think of these webinars to see whether whether they're useful to you or not. Also, as I say, we've got one more coming up, which is that match and index, which is VLOOKUP for grown-ups. If you want to come to that, make sure that you've reviewed VLOOKUP. So we did do a VLOOKUP masterclass webinar, so make sure that you've looked at that, because otherwise it won't make much sense to you. If you don't understand VLOOKUPs, match and index isn't going to make much sense. But if there's anything else that you would like to see, please let us know. So we haven't got anything else in the plans in the diary for now, but I'm always open to suggestions, anything else you'd like to see. Okay, so I'm just going to end that poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. All right, so don't have any questions being asked at the moment. If you are typing a question frantically, please raise your hand so I know not to stop. But other than that, I will actually conclude this webinar. Okay, well, in that case, thank you for coming, everybody, and we shall see you next time.